When you first start looking over a drawing set, one of the first drawings that you should look at are the existing conditions. This is an overall site plan, right? It's a plan. You're looking down on the site, and you want to understand what's going on there. What's important to you as a contractor? Well, one of the first things that should stand out are where are the property lines, right? What's the limit of this property that I'm working on? And remember, these lines are those long lines with two dashes, long lines with two dashes, usually circles connecting the corners and so on. But this is the limit of what you're definitely going to be working. Outside those property lines, you may see who owns adjacent property. Sometimes it's included, sometimes it's not. Might not be a bad idea to get to know your neighbors while you're building there because they're going to get to know you. The next thing you're going to look at are your setback lines. Setback lines are usually designated by zoning ordinances and other things, but it's basically saying that, hey, you can't build. Don't build outside of these lines. You may own the property to your property line, but don't be building outside your setback lines. Then you got to look at your right-of-ways. What about power? Is power going through the site? It is on this one. We have some overhead power lines. And of course we have the right-of-ways that extend beyond those lines, which means the power company can come in and do whatever they need to do within that right-of-way to maintain those power lines. So you shouldn't be building things in there that might obstruct their maintenance of their lines. You certainly shouldn't plant anything in there that might obstruct the maintenance of their power lines. So you just want to pretty much keep that clear except for maybe some paving areas. Next thing you look at are there existing utilities? For example, is there some drain pipe on the site? Well, there certainly is on the edge of the site, right? You have a road going on there. You probably have some storm drainage on the road. But maybe you have some drainage in the site that you have to demolish and fill in or abandon, something to be aware of. Well, what does the topography look like on this site? Right? How does that land lay? And you should be able to read that topography. So when we see these lines that indicate the grade, as the lines get closer together, it gets steeper. As they get further apart, it gets a little more level. It looks like this site has sort of a bowl shape in there. What about paving? Is there any paving on the site? In this particular case, we have a little bit of paving and some gravel drives that we have to worry about. Any structures that have to be demolished? If so, who's going to demolish them? What about the vegetation? What kind of trees are on this site? Are there trees that will need to be saved, or are other trees going to be torn down? All this should be indicated on the drawings later on, but these are the existing conditions that you're going to have to deal with. And this one actually happens to have a well, so you're going to want to look for other things, outside the ordinary. Well, what are you going to do with that well? One of the other things that I advise you to do is to look at it from Google Earth, because that will give you a really good perspective of what's going on the site. You can even use Google Earth to look back through time to see what the site was used for over time. Well, why would you do that? Well, maybe it had a use that might cause you problems if it hadn't been dealt with. For instance, if there was a gas station on the site that was eventually demolished, what if there were still underground fuel storage tanks there that you would have to deal with? So that's a great tool just to quickly look at the site over time.